Good afternoon, ladies and gents. It's the 16th of September 2025, and I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet for you. Guys, no boring slides or anything like that for this session. It's going to be 5-10 minutes. This is going to be quick and just a news update, really, from an announcement that was made over the last sort of 3 or 4 days. So just a couple of bits of news that all of you and everyone should really be interested in, or at least be aware of, because mainstream media isn't telling anyone about it. However, I've said this on numerous occasions now and other videos that the government cannot be seen to be telling the population too much, just in fear of causing panic, basically. So instead, fuck the population. Let's not tell anyone the seriousness of what's really going on at the moment. Since the start of Putin's special operation campaign back in February 2022, he's made many threats to numerous parties, whether that be individual countries around the world, to NATO as an alliance, and even the entire West. Such threats presented as red lines. This is red lines that shouldn't be crossed in Putin's eyes. So if you do this, then this is what's going to happen. If you send tanks and weapons to the Ukraine, then that is a red line. If you send missiles to be used against Russian targets, that being ATACMS and Storm Shadows and such like, then that's a red line. Or even if you send F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine, then that's yet another red line. And the new red line that's cropped up over the last few days is authorizing Ukraine to use long-range missiles that can strike targets sort of deeper inside Russian territory. I just want to make one thing clear here, guys. NATO have been preparing for all-out war against Russia since at least February 2022, if not before that. My video before this one outlines some of those preparations that have and are still being made for the war against Russia. If you don't think this has been happening, I'll sort of urge you to just go and have a watch of that video. I think it's called, what have I called it? NATO preparing for war with Russia. Parts of those preparations have to always include decisions such as when are we going to feed weaponry into Ukraine to be used against Russia? That being tanks, artillery, missiles, defense systems, fighter jets, and such like. And of course, that is what NATO have been doing over the last 2.5 to 3 years, whilst it, as an alliance, prepares its own military postures. We have Russia's Medvedev this week, not this week, over the last few days, threatening to turn Kyiv into a giant melting pot. But the purpose for this video is based on my concerns. Now, I know this war. No, I don't. I don't know this war is going to kick off. I believe highly that this war is going to kick off. So no one really needs to be convincing me of that. I hope it doesn't. But right now, it's only going in one direction, guys. But this next move by NATO to allow the use of long-range missiles on targets deep inside Russia should start to send shivers down your spines. Not only have NATO authorized this next move, but they're also jumping up onto the public stage and calling Putin's bluff. NATO are point blank telling Putin that we've heard all this shit before, and we've heard it over the last 2.5, 3 years about what you think you're going to do and what you want to do. If NATO and the West continues to support Ukraine. So let me just remind you all, Putin and his tight group of representatives haven't stopped threatening the West. And not only threatening the West, but they're threatening the West with nuclear attacks. Okay, so let me just say that again, threatening the West with nuclear attacks. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong here, but are we all supposed to just sort of sit back and take such threats lightly? Or, are we, and when I say we, ladies and gents, I mean you and I as well, are we supposed to have Putin and his fucking people threatening us and our families with annihilation through the use of nuclear weapons? Are we honestly supposed to sit back and let Putin cross borders and just say that he's going to be taking land? Putin, ladies and gents, is slowly but surely placing himself and his nation actually. Yes, that's his own population that he continues to throw into the front lines and into that meat grinder. Yep, all those people that if they say no or don't do as they're told, then they're shot anyway. He's placing millions of people around the world in many other countries as well into serious danger. He's killing his own people. He's killing and is responsible for killing thousands of innocent people in Ukraine. Russia have pretty much destroyed Ukraine as a country, but are now getting a taste of their own medicine at last. But I cannot emphasize this anymore, ladies and gents. NATO are planning on attacking Putin or taking him out. That's it. And he knows it. Hence the reason why he keeps making what seems to be these empty threats. But don't be complacent, guys, and especially if you're living in the UK and other European countries at the moment. For any of you living here in the UK, you better believe that the United Kingdom is absolutely going to be a target for Putin. There's no shadow of doubt about that. He has said so. I don't know. He said so over the last few days, certainly, but he has said so over the last few months, if not at least the last 12 months. He seems to jump on this nuclear platform anytime he's being pushed into a corner or anytime it's not going his way. Okay, because it's like I've said it in the other videos. It's like a bully. A bully will stand in front of you. You know, when they're on the back foot, they'll come out with all sorts of shit. Do you know who I am? And do you know who I know? And all that rubbish. Anything just to make the you know make the opposition step back, shall we say? So just take that as you will. The only weapons or missiles are being mentioned in the media at the moment, and this is in relation to this article that's come up over the last sort of 5, 6 days. So these long-range missiles that are being authorized to be used deep inside Russian territory are British Storm Shadow missiles. They're not mentioning any other missiles, they're just mentioning ours. We might as well just stick a Union Jack on those missiles and send them into Moscow, you know. Like I say, they're not mentioning any other missiles at the moment. Of course, there'll be other missiles used when that campaign starts. But for Putin, he's going to be sat there knowing and thinking that the UK is a direct threat to the Russian mainland. I've also done a video, guys. Actually, it's a couple of videos on possible targets here in the UK and how you all should be checking to see if you live anywhere near any of those locations. I've listed 40 UK counterforce and countervalue targets on a video. You need to take a look at that list. And when I say this, guys, I can't emphasize this anymore. Seriously, you need to be checking to see if you live anywhere near any of those locations because they will be possible targets for Russian attacks. And with that information, you'll know what you'll need to be doing to prepare, meaning the levels of preparedness or preparing required, as there's going to be different levels of preparing depending on where that threat is. How far away are you from those locations? So I'm not trying to present any kind of clickbait material here, guys. I know there's going to be people out there saying about scaremongering and all that bollocks. Listen, you shouldn't even be on there. Okay, if you're one of these people, you shouldn't even be listening to any of this. Okay, you need to go off and watch Love Island and Tom and Jerry on a Sunday afternoon on your TVs, or just I don't know, just do go somewhere else. Go and do something else. Okay. Um, if you're not gonna if you can't see what's going on around you and you've got people telling you and shit, if you can't see this, then just go somewhere else. Okay. And I've mentioned in other videos, listen, guys, I'm not a YouTuber, I'm a prepper. And the two are very different things. So with that, I don't give a shit about views and the likes and the subscription numbers. I'm not a numbers man. I don't care about that. I'm not here for that. If I can get this information out to 10 people and those 10 people use this information to help protect themselves and their families through awareness and preparedness, then I've done my job. And that's it. Okay. I'm not interested in the numbers. If people are presenting these videos out there and they're worried about how many views and subscriptions they're getting, then they're not they don't give a shit. They probably don't believe their own shit, to be honest with you. They'll put the information out there and probably don't believe. You know, you'll get people saying that they're preppers when you know they suffer from normality bias. It's just that doesn't make sense. We, as in many Europeans, are potentially in a world of shit in terms of our lives being turned upside down. I've also done a video on the possible Russian threats to the UK, chasing the submarines, I think it's called. So watch that if you can, because that right there is a Russian threat sat just off the coast of Scotland, Ireland, England, or Wales. Don't be disillusioned that missiles are going to be launched from, within mainland Russia, sort of, the silos or mobile launch pads in the form of transporters. No, submarines will be the UK's direct threat. I also believe that if the West can stop Putin in his tracks and just put him in his place, which is it's definitely what needs to be done right now, and by whatever means, then the likes of North Korea and Iran, they'll probably change their tune. If the West can be seen to be taking Russia down, then that sends a message to the others. Remember, guys, in terms of military sizes, technological advancements, and the superior expertise and training of the Western armed forces, the likes of Iran are still stuck in the fucking dark ages. And I will not, well, they as a nation will not win a conventional war with the West. I know some of you will be sat there saying, well, what about Afghanistan? Well, that wasn't a conventional war as we know it. And the West, up until that point, had only sort of trained for conventional wars. It's as simple as. And North Korea. Come on, guys. Just look at that ice cream man himself. I mean, King Jong-un. North Korea have got absolutely no hope in hell. Okay, I don't know why people get on this stage and start talking about, North Korea or this and that. They'd be wiped off the face of the earth within a matter of days. Personally, I'd be more concerned about the Chinese. I'm not going to talk about them and this is about this article, this threat, this authorization that Ukraine can start striking, targets deep inside Russia using NATO weapons. Okay, so just to finish off, yes, we and the world have numerous problems evolving right now. Iran are in the West's crosshairs for two reasons now. They're a terrorist state. Okay, they support, fund, and they're anything and everything terrorist. They they are a main provider for those groups and those militant groups and everything else. Okay, um, but you cannot have nuclear weapons in the hands of terrorists. Simple. But now Iran have been given, or they've given the West actually another reason to take them out, and that is they have just sent numerous ballistic missiles to Russia to be used against Ukraine. So sorry, guys, Iran are going to get some of this as well. North Korea, as I've mentioned over the last few days, have been talked about by Western governments and military representatives. And what they're basically saying, guys, is that North Korea is some kind of threat because they too they too have control of nuclear weapons. So I'm sorry to say all this, but the US, Japan, South Korea, and whoever else wants to sort of get involved in that conflict, they'll flatten North Korea. It's as simple as that. Um, it's I think land mass it's no bigger than Ireland here in the UK in terms of size, as in the country. It's very outdated military and another nation that has threatened others with the use of nukes. See, guys, listen, the West haven't once threatened the use of nukes on anyone. But let's not forget, guys, the Americans are the only country that have used such weapons in war. So if anyone's likely to use them, it's going to be America. All of these theatres are sort of synchronizing at the moment and they're becoming one. So anyone who's following any of this war and conflict and have done so over the last year or so, you'll see that there's three, possibly four main theatres and they're evolving, they're intertwining and they're becoming one. They're synchronizing. They're all, it's going to be a war between the East and the West. That's how this is turning out. It's not really going to be, the European or conflict in Europe and then Asia and then the Middle East. This is going to be an East and West conflict. Like I say, all these theatres are just synchronizing and they're becoming one at the moment. So you just need to be able to look at the bigger picture here. And you can see that NATO are pretty much ready to have it with Russia. You can see that, and the West have been sort of preparing for the Middle Eastern arena and also preparing to take out North Korea. And guys, I haven't even started with China. If this all pops off, then this will truly be a world war. So, guys, as I finish off, my point here is this. Please, if you haven't already started, then start thinking about this situation unfolding around you and what you can do to protect yourselves and your families. the number one priority, okay, you and your family, okay, if you've got kids and the missus and partners or whatever it is, you need to just start thinking about it, even if you do nothing about it. Just quickly before I go, just a 30-second update on Belarus. NATO need to know where they stand with Belarus before they go in. Are they likely to get involved in support for Russia if and when it all goes off? The only real way to know that is to kind of bring them into the conflict in Ukraine. I've been tracking the battle in the Kursk region in southern Russia, where Ukraine have sort of made some positive gains there. And guys, this is only my opinion, but I think that the battle is going to make its way westwards along the border towards Belarus. So you can see from this Kursk battle or the battles, it has definitely been orchestrated by NATO. That's a NATO op, that is. And again, my opinion, I think this is going to move westwards intentionally, so that Belarus are getting a knock on the door, so we can see how they react. What they're going to do, Putin will expect Belarus to fully back Russia and attack Ukraine, but then that is Putin using Belarus as another proxy. I only want to mention that because if that does happen, then Poland and the Baltics are involved, and that's NATO involved anyway. Right, enough of my waffle. Guys, have a good day. Get yourselves military fit and infantry aware.